I'm about to speak to Alice River-Cripps, who is the founder of Posh Totty and one of the first ever sellers at Notonthehighstreet. It's going to be an amazing conversation because I'm so fascinated to know really, if we go back the 13 years, what it was really like onboarding onto Notonthehighstreet when we were dealing with the great unknown, and now after so many years becoming so successful. Now what's life like? What's life like in lockdown? What's life like in this stage that she's at? And I, for one, just cannot wait. Thank you to Alice. Before we even start, thank you to Notonthehighstreet for giving me this moment to just go down memory lane.
Hi there. It's Alice here from Posh Totty Designs, and I'm super excited to be talking to Holly Tucker today on Instagram TV. She's not only a friend and a cheerleader and a mentor, and basically is the person who helped me get started in the first place, but she's also absolutely wonderful, and she is helping so many other small businesses. So I will be talking to her today about my tips and advice for running a business and getting through Christmas, and how I've gone from being out to in, and looking forward to a small, big Christmas this year.
It's so lovely to see you. As I just was saying, I follow you. I've loved watching you through lockdown. I've loved, all of these things. But I would love to ask you, I was just saying to everybody that we've had a journey, haven't we? We've had
an amazing journey.
We have an amazing journey. Let me talk though, just tell me how it's been for you during lockdown, because you've got two boys, you've got your business. You must have had that moment as well when all of this started. We're now talking in September. It feels like we're on the other side of almost, doesn't it? How have you been?
It's been crazy. I've had an amazing roller coaster. There are moments that were just out of this world, like incredible times where I was sat in the garden playing chess with the kids, and my kids actually decided that they wanted to set up a restaurant every week so that we could like relive the restaurant experience. And my little boys were kind of cooking dinner every once a week, trying to recreate my favorite meals. But at the same time as that, I was working my socks off like I've probably never worked before. Like I was trying to do everything with an incredible team around me. But initially I thought it was just going to be me. So I managed to empty all the shops, fill it with jewelry. Like I literally grabbed all the jewelry from the shops, grabbed everything I could, and then basically filled my spare room, put my workbench in the corner, and kind of faced facts that we were probably going to drop off the edge of a cliff, but that hopefully there might be a few orders that I could like kind of knock up whilst I was at home. And when Boris gave that announcement, I was like, I was actually in a pub at the time, which was even worse because I was like, I better get out the pub. But I was very much like, oh my God, we're going to have to kind of close everything. So I kind of shut up shop. And then I had some incredible team members that kind of came forward saying, we live on our own. We don't want to be locked down for a long period of time on our own. Is there anything we can do? And I was like, do you know what? Let's see if we can make it work. So there were 4 of us, one jeweler who was just absolutely phenomenal. So 3 others and me. And we basically set about trying to get all the orders out, and it went crazy. Like it went from being, I was like having to make really, really horrendous decisions, just going like, what am I going to do? This is over. I was like, the shops are over, the whole thing's over. Kind of felt like it was completely the end, lots of tears. And then kind of from then, slowly we've kind of got back. I ended up working in the shop for like 6 weeks as well, which was lovely to kind of get back to the customers face to face, so that was brilliant, and actually so valuable, and it was like real back to kind of grassroots of where we kind of started, which is where you saw me the first time. Up the alley.
It is what I was going to say. That this is because our story goes back to, is it 2007? Is it 2000?
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, I started in 2004, and it was definitely, and that was very small. That was like me and like maybe 1 order a week kind of thing, So yeah, it must have been. Yeah, it was
13 years ago. 13 years ago, I was on my sort of shopping day. So a friend of mine said, "Oh, there's this little place here that you need to have a look at. You'll really like her stuff," you know. And there I was, continuously touting for Not on the High Street, a brand that no one knew, and I had to sort of explain the internet almost to people to understand what we were doing. And I knocked on and came in, and we were there, weren't we? We spoke first off, and you told me about the other Not on the High Street. Were they Not on the High Street sellers at the time above you?
Yeah. So yep, I had Cub Kids. She was up there, which was Laura Winderbank then. But yeah, so she was up there. And I think Alice Eden was up there. So yeah, and Marie as well. So yes, there's a few people that were up in the attic of the tiniest shop on the planet, and it was tucked away with no windows. Yeah, and then there was me and my workbench in that little shop. But I remember so clearly, because it was like yesterday. I remember you coming in with Frank and Harry, and you just kind of came in and you were just like, I love it all.
That doesn't sound like me at all. I love all this jewellery so much. Now, let me tell you, even though I'm coming here, I'm meant to be having a break, no doubt. You know, let me just tell you about this little website called Not on the High Street. And, you know, that was, you know, for those who are listening, who weren't there with us at that point in time, you know, it was like nothing else, wasn't it? It was this moment where you put your products on this website, and we basically took this journey together. And those early years of Not on the High Street, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years, these were the bizarrest moments, weren't they?
Oh, it was mad. It was, oh my God, it was insane. Yeah, like I remember having, I mean, on average, I worked out that every 25 customers, I might get one sale when I was up the alley. But I could see 25 customers in one whole week. So it was kind of like, you know, I maybe 5 orders. And then I remember you saying, oh, you know, you just got to pay this fee and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't got any money at all. You know, I can't do anything. And you were like, it's worth it. It's worth it. And I just remember, like, basically I joined in the October, and I remember going from like 5 orders a week to maybe like 15 orders a week. And then after 2 weeks, it was like 30 orders a week. And then the Christmas after that, it was 1,000 orders a day. Like, we got one, and it was like, how do you go to that? And how can you manage staff? And how can you do anything like that if you've got that many orders coming through? So that was pretty crazy. And we were like little elves. We were all just like, every friend, everyone I knew was coming to help in that tiny little shop, trying to, like, you know, we can make it, we can do it. So it was,
and you know, the same time, this is the thing, what I love about these sort of accounting stories, because at the same, you know, you're going from 5 orders a week to 1,000 orders a day. You know, you at that same time that you were exploding, we too were exploding. So we were almost having that same, you know, so we had loads of people having this 1,000 orders a day. And all I remember being was known as the person almost going, what do you mean you've gone out of stock? Go faster, go faster. Yeah. We can't let a customer down, because all I was thinking of, what happens in January? What happens in February? What if everyone never comes back to Not on the High Street ever again? And we took these unbelievable journeys together. We would go through, wouldn't we, our Christmas peaks. We would then come into the worrying Januaries and the sales. And we would then be getting ready for realizing that Mother's Day was a big deal for us, and that maybe we should do a catalogue. Yeah, you remember the catalogues? And maybe you should buy.
The catalogues are amazing. I've still got them all. I literally keep every single one. I've got them all, and you know, I still look at them. Yeah, I still look at them because I think they're incredible. They were such a kind of, you know, a real journey. But also, just you were holding our hand the whole way. So that was what was amazing, is that you were kind of like a little cheerleader that kind of was like, come to the office, and you bring me to the office. I remember you used to have loads of cans of Coke. Like, you'd be like, here, have
some Diet Coke, more Diet Coke.
And you just would sit there and you'd like say, oh, I want to see it all. And I'd like get all the jewelry out, and you'd just be like, I love it. And then you'd be like, you need to work on this, you need to work on that, you know. And it was just amazing, because you had such a guy to kind of be like, actually, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And it was it was I wish we could go back to those days, because it was such an amazing time.
I do as well. I do. And, and the more you came in, the more I started dripping in it. So, the amount of special, the bangles, I've got your first ever bangles where the lettering was coming off the sides of the bangle. Right?
That was me. Yeah, that was me.
But, I've literally got these things. I treasure them. I can't tell you. I treasure them so much because, this was a moment, for those who are watching, personalization in jewelry didn't happen. This hadn't happened, had it? It was, you could maybe get a
carry necklace.
Yes,
a carry necklace kind of thing.
Exactly. You could get something, but it was I liken it to almost snappy snaps. It's that level of personalization. And suddenly customers were able to personalize their jewelry. And I think about, that time. How did you scale? For those, because there's a number of businesses at the moment that are having a Christmas every day, that lockdown has been good for them. When you think back to your earlier days and, how did you scale? Because there was those moments, weren't there, during the years that you would have to go, well, if Christmas is going to be double what it is this year, shit, I must get some more people on, How did you cope with that? Did you ever get fearful of it? Or did you just think, I better embrace what I've got now, but if it runs out?
Yeah, I think I definitely embraced. I think that's definitely one word to describe it. Definitely embraced it. Like, okay, we can do this. But also I think the scariest thing was that first employee. Like, that was the most terrifying thing, making that first leap from doing it myself, because I'd done it all myself. And it was just like, can I afford this person? But then as it grew, you kind of felt like, actually, do you know what? We do need someone over there, and we do need someone over there. And also you've got a team that are telling you. So I could probably, kept trying to do it myself for years, but you've got a team going, actually, we really need help here. We really need help here. And one of my favorite years was a year when we were in a really small we just had I think it was like a couple of years into it. And we just moved into a space. And I remember one of the girls that worked for me was dating a guy that was in a band, and then the next thing, all the band were in, and they were all packing, and everyone we could find, and then we were putting things out on Facebook, anyone around that can come and help us. And we were kind of working all night, and it was like trying to get it out as much, try and do as much as we possibly could. And it was really fun, because we'd all be having beers, we'd all be getting, we'd all be getting in there, all be getting involved. And then I think over the last couple of years, I took a step back from maybe that central role of actually getting involved, and kind of thought, I'm here to kind of grow the business and develop the business. And that was amazing. And we kind of started to look globally, and kind of, I went to China, and we had, all these amazing opportunities for the Department of International Trade and stuff like that. But actually, what it took me away from was the core why I started and what I loved and what I was most passionate about. So actually, we are now back at that stage of just packing everything, being in the whole, in all the stages. We're all a cog in this kind of trying to get this wheel working and trying to get it all running, and we're all rowing in the same direction. So, it's amazing, but I think it's terrifying. You've just got to do it. You've got to kind of go with your gut. And also now, you do get to a stage where when you start, you kind of get freelancers in for Christmas as much as possible, because that's less stress. Because like you said, January, you suddenly go, oh my God, it's been so crazy, and now there's nothing. But I did decide, probably 7 years ago, that I wanted to have a team that were full-time and in all year round, so that I could kind of look after them a bit more. So then I changed. And that's really good, but then we do have to just bring in a few people. But we've got that core team that will work. They understand all year round. They understand the highs and the lows. We work on on designs when it's kind of quieter periods, and then we work on other stuff, the rest of the time. And then we kind of do the orders when it's crazy, and we try and kind of lock down everything so we don't do any kind of extra projects or anything. So that's,
but you know, what's interesting what you're saying, and I and for those of you watching and things, you know, if we think back to everyone who I'm interviewing, you know, I would say, I said to someone cringeworthily on a podcast which will come out soon, you know, that I went out you know, on Friday night for my hen do. And actually what you're almost saying is founders are going in, you know, you're actually getting back involved in the business. And, you know, don't you feel, and I've got questions and comments, I'm going to get to those, but don't you feel, and I know you and I have spoken about this, you know, sometimes founders will grow and scale, but if you lose that ability to be able to go in, if that umbilical cord is really stretched, did you notice that moment when you were on that plane and you were, you know, you were being the sort of bigger CEO of your business, you know, you were doing that thing? Did you notice detriment to the business? Did you notice I'm not saying anything about your staff because I know they're gorgeous and they're wonderful people. I'm just saying like the founder-titis, I call it, sort of like, because I think a lot of people, you know, watching sometimes can get so fed up with their businesses and they sort of can't wait for the days that they expand it and they've got teams and everything. But then there is something magical, isn't there, about the founder being able to be in the business.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think I was happy at that stage to be going out. And
you know, I love all the business words. You see, that's why I just think all business words are a load of bollocks. You know, it's out, in. You know,
exactly.
What I'm talking about.
Absolutely. No, I think I needed to go and see what there was out there. I think I felt like there was so many projects, there was so many opportunities out there, and I've always been someone that says yes to everything. So, you know, you guys used to be like, "Can you do this by tomorrow?" We'd be like, "Yes." You know, it's like that kind of. I feel like that is part of what's been our success is the fact that we've always tried to say yes to everything. And then you suddenly got to the stage where we were saying yes to everything, that we weren't really checking whether we could actually do it without being stressed out, without being exhausted, and also that we were gaining much from it. Like we were almost saying yes to everything. And now I think we've kind of taken it back in, and actually we're being a bit more sensible with the opportunities that we're given. And we're just like, actually, that's going to take an awful lot of time and effort. And will we get as much from it as actually focusing on new designs or focusing on making our collections better or focusing on what we're doing, you know, and we're so lucky that we're doing so well online. And that's obviously takes a lot less effort than all the other projects that we were doing, because we were meant to be in department stores this year and launching in all these different department stores. And that would have been a hell of a lot of work and quite exhausting for everybody, and the recruitment and everything else. And that was the plan, but we've kind of closed everything down until at least next year, where we can kind of reevaluate whether we want to do it.
Reevaluate, isn't it? And I think maybe, I'm going to get to some comments, but maybe in the earlier years of business, for those of you watching in your earlier years, it is right to say yes. Yes, because you don't know until, you know, John Hegarty, I always say it, you know, he said, you know, do interesting things and interesting things will happen to you. So, you know, it's saying yes in those early years, and then maybe when you can take the risk of saying no, that is where you can rely maybe on something else. I've got a few comments. Wood, paper, scissors, I see you commenting all the time. So happy you're back. I'm so happy I'm back. Lillian May Studio, hello Holly, I missed you too. The Thoughtful Potter, it's the same year that I joined with Sparks and Daughters, my first business baby. It felt like a huge leap into the unknown. Little did we know how amazing it would turn out. And we know, Deborah, don't we, in Verity? The Garden of Edie, I just started and I'm getting 1 or 2 orders, which is, you know that stage, don't you, Alice? 1 or 2 orders, I guess, coming in.
You're always going to have that, because it takes a while until you get seen on the site. I mean, it's all about the algorithm, isn't it? And you just got to keep building that. And the more you do, but also we still have products that we launch and we're a bit disappointed because we put so much effort and we're so excited about the product, and then we put it out there and it kind of, you know, doesn't do much. And then it does, but it's almost like sometimes it could be before its time. So it's almost like the trend hasn't hit, and then the trend hits a year later, and suddenly you're like, oh, okay. So
I was just so early with that trend.
Yeah.
Pat on the back, me.
You know?
In response to Alice talking about Noth's huge orders, Basil and Ford, we nearly closed our business, and Noth's did the same for us. I'm so happy to hear. Or Basil and Ford, the most amazing people. Brown Bear Ripley, our orders exploded in lockdown. May alone was around 15 times last December. I mean, isn't that just incredible? And I'm hearing more, I'm really feeling more about this sort of explosion, maybe for some people, that is it the small business era now? Are we literally hitting a moment where everything, like almost Noth's was before its time? You know, it's suddenly people are realizing, right, I'm going to support small now.
I think 100%. I know that we sell in a department store, a beautiful department store, and they're actually independent. They're a family-run department store. But we were doing so well in that store before lockdown, and then our stores were always a bit of a struggle. You know, we were on it. You know, we're kind of tucked away, and we're kind of small independents. And then suddenly after lockdown, our store was doing way better than that big department store, which I never expected to see. And it's been fantastic. And then also I was that first week of opening the store, it was just me in my personalized visor with Alice written on my forehead. And every customer that came in wanted to buy something. Like they'd almost gone out of their way to come and buy something.
Yes.
And then almost they felt that if they felt like they really wanted to support me, that even if they just picked up a candle, they were like, oh, we'll just buy this. And it was just, and everybody wanted to have a conversation as well. It was so nice. It was just like constant chat about how was your lockdown? How was your lockdown? So it was really lovely. It was,
it is so amazing to see. I've got a question. My in out is going to stick with me, Alice. I can tell this. Be in on your business. Yes, embrace scaling, but beware as a founder moving too far from the grassroots of your brand. As a founder, it is crucial to be in the detail. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that it is the detail that the founder gives a business?
Yeah, 100%. And actually, I was always aware that I was almost too much in the detail, and sometimes you kind of get lost in the detail. And you don't want to be that person that is just constantly kind of, you know, there looking over everyone's shoulders going, what are you doing? You know, so I stopped that, but when we got into lockdown, it became the most important thing on the planet. I had to be on every single department, every single area of the business. It was like a full 360, and it was amazing. It was such an incredible way to be. It was like I was suddenly allowed to be like that. I was suddenly allowed to be like, we're going to manage this, and we're going to run this, and we're going to run it as a family. We're all going to kind of get together, and we're going to try and do the best we can do. And it was amazing. But yeah, the devil's in the detail. It's definitely, you know, especially with the finances, like you need to be on the finances. You know, that's the other thing I was going to say about your other thing. The earlier question was that I would say that I've always been really, really careful when I started, that I didn't go wild. You know, like you might have a really good Christmas, but if you want to do this job for the rest of your life, you need to keep that money in the pot, you know. And I didn't have big investors or anything like that. So it was just very much like, we have got to look at what we've got, and we've got to get through a whole year, and how much does it cost each month to survive? And, you know, and if we've got a big you know, like our biggest thing is our labor bill, you know, you kind of have to be like, okay, we've really got to be really careful. We've really got to kind of watch everything, and watch like a hawk, you know. And even now we're doing so well, but I'm like, you know, October's going to cause change. There's going to be a whole change there. We don't know whether that's going to affect us. You know, we've then got next year. You know, you've got all these different things that you need to kind of keep the money in the pot so that you can try and weather the storm.
And I think that that's, you know, one of the things, you know, over the years of Not on the High Street, you know, you were growing phenomenally, but you did have your eye on those risks to your business, you know, in cash. And I talk about it a lot of times, and we've spoken to experts about it, this issue that we seem to have with imposter syndromes around this sort of area. But, you know, the point is, if you want to build a good life business, you know, if you want to build a business that's going to be there when you might be 60, 70 years old, then this is the long term. This is you've got to know that, how much money do you have for a rainy day? What if the shit hits the fan? What if there's a pandemic and no one does go online?
Well, I worked out we were close at that point. So, it did make me go, hang on a second, let's be careful again. Because
and slightly sometimes that's what founders are like, come on, no, I've done this for years. Why am I going back to being careful? I want to be sort of, not having to worry about the pennies anymore. But that is the point that you take the swings and roundabouts, don't you? You have the benefits of being small, the benefits of being nimble, a chameleon, product ranges. I remember at Not on the High Street, you really were that person we would call, because in 24 hours you'd thought about something and you were giving us what potentially was that next bestseller. And it's that ability to be nimble that's so fascinating. I've got a question here. The Divine Rebels. Hi, Holly. I have no idea what to do about Christmas. Okay, Alice, this is your mastermind specialized subject, isn't it? I'm sat here just thinking, I launched in April and just navigating the early days of my business. Any advice? Over to you.
Well, we're talking about a whole new Christmas, aren't we? I would say that potentially we're going to have a lockdown Christmas. So I think people will be buying more meaningful gifts and sending them. So as long as you've got products that you can send through the post, I would say people may well be at home. So kits and creative kits that you can do, especially things that are creative kits related to Christmas, because you could get the kids doing kind of, designing the Christmas table or whatever. I think make sure you've got enough of a team in place, and start looking now so that you've got the people, especially if you need people that are skilled, you need to start training them. But I think we're just going to have to play this one by ear. We're in a completely new time, and we're just going to have to hope for the best, I think. But it could be the best Christmas we ever have, in terms of people buying meaningful gifts and steering away from big mass-produced stuff, and the fact that they might be able to get them from the Chinese factories and stuff, so they might go more British, and here's hoping. But we've just got to kind of see what they do. But I think, Not on the High Street have got, they know what they're doing. They're marketing everything really well, and they've got, they'll be looking after us. So hopefully it will all be good for them. And good luck.
Well, and also, I've got to say, I'm going to talk about, I don't know what I'm going to call it, but this is the biggest small Christmas ever.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Okay. We're not doing the same kind of marketing or anything. We've kind of gone much smaller. Yeah, but we're hoping for great things.
This is going to be it. I've got this feeling. I know it. I think that, and I don't know if it will happen in 2021. I think this might be just this moment in time where we're going to benefit. Small businesses are going to benefit from what is happening in the world. Larger organizations, larger spaces, the high street. I'm worried for the high street this Christmas. I think that, my experience over the weekend that I've been honest and open about wasn't fantastic. And so, I think that the independents, so every time I went to Box Park and I went to, East London, I went into these independents. Now that was a great experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can imagine that's going to do well. But the larger places, Lillian May Studio, any advice for working on new products when the business is so busy with orders? So this is touching on innovation. And I know you know about this, don't you?
Yes, you have to take the time out. You have to put the time aside. But for me, it's the odd. I'll dream about a product, and then I'll turn up at work, and I'll really annoy everyone. I'll be like, in the middle of the night, I had this, but a lot of the times I wake up in the morning and it's a product that wouldn't even work. Like it's a complete load of rubbish. But it's kind of that sometimes they'll be like, oh, and what about if we do this? So it's kind of working as a team. I think having a creative kind of day or a moment where you can kind of all sit together and share your ideas is a brilliant thing. We try and do that, we used to try and do it like once a week. It hasn't been so much recently because people are all over the place at the moment working from home and stuff. But I've got Emma Long, who used to work for Not on the High Street.
Yes, I know Emma. Hello Emma, if you're here, because yes, dear Emma. Yes, I know
she's
Emma.
Amazing. Yeah, she's amazing, but she also sits next to me and is forever going on about products. And when you're just kind of going, but I'm trying to get this done, but she's just like product, and she's so right, because that, you know, you haven't got any business without the products. And, you know, you do need to keep, you know, bringing out new exciting products and following the trends, but not, I mean, what are the trends this year? I don't even know what the trends are this year. It's kind of, it's that's another thing that's gone is, you know, people just, I personally think that it's very much more down to kind of a meaningful product and giving people the opportunity. It's exactly what Not on the High Street is. It's giving people the opportunity to put that personalization on something. So as many products that people can do that with in different exciting ways, I feel is where the potential is. Because
you know what, I think the trend is thoughtfulness. You know, that's honestly, I think that is the biggest trend. And I think thoughtfulness is going to come in all shapes and sizes and style. I don't think that there is any sort of mustard and teal and whatever it's going on, and unicorns and glitter. I'm sure that there is, but, you know, maybe that's what the department stores created. You know, they needed it more because that's actually where they got their creative inspiration from. Whereas you guys, you are the creative inspiration. So this is where the difference is. You know, I'm fascinated, aren't you, Alice, to see what comes out of lockdown. You know, are trends going to be a load of bollocks lately, you know, soon? Are we going to actually just be shopping small? Are we going to be shopping online? What's the high street going to be? I mean, there's so many things that potentially needed to be broken. That
100%. That's the thing. There has been so many positivities in that respect, you know, in terms of these things. I mean, there's been some awfully horrendous things as well, but like that is just, you know, that is hitting the nail on the head, is that it is, you know, it could be that we just go for things we like rather than what's on trend. You know, woo, that'd be crazy, wouldn't it? You know, it's just, I mean, my house is a complete assortment of just all sorts of trends and everything. You know, it's just such a kind of crazy mishmash. But that's because I pick stuff I really, really genuinely love rather than that, you know. And I think if we could all do better with a thoughtful gift that, you know, represents what we want to say to that person. So.
And I've got a few comments. Wood, paper, scissors. I am sure people are realizing the benefits of supporting small right now, and it's amazing. And I couldn't agree more, guys. We are the Bearded Ladies Club. Oh, I love that. Great to hear Alice's insider tips. Thank you both. The Little Sign Company, we need to maximize the opportunity this Christmas, and it will set us up for next year. Correct. Yeah. You know, we talk about squirreling away money. This Christmas is important to small businesses. It is the biggest small Christmas ever because we don't know what 2021 is going to be. We're going to have you know, a lot of people who will be facing their first year of potentially redundancy or potentially, you know, so many changes in the household. So it's so important that we look after those pennies. Emma Long, hi, lovely listening to you both. Emma, it must be bizarre, you know, your current boss and your old boss chatting away with our penny faces. Baby Toddler Adventure, love this. Definitely a theme of thoughtfulness. Great to have you back, Holly. Thank you. And James Bissett, I think, so many nuggets. Loved listening. Listening in South Africa.
Wow, that's amazing.
Alice, we're international. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, we're just international here. Tell me what you would say to your... if you think about that journey and joining Not on the High Street and the things that you learned, not letter to your younger self, but for those who are maybe starting a business, you know, in June, there were more businesses started than the whole of the year. And I think that's what's going to happen. Lots of people are going to be starting a business. What would you say to your younger business self? You know, because we've had this extraordinary, as we're saying, 13 years together. What would you say?
I would say, well, I'd say keep doing what you're doing. And just honestly, just, you know, it's your gut. Just follow your gut. I would say that I've had advice of people, you know, business advisors, mentors over the years who have told me to do one thing, and then actually I felt it in my gut and gone the opposite way, and it's turned out okay. Might not have done, you know, and there's a risk there, but I would say follow your gut. Like my gut is a really, you know, it's better than anything else, you know, better than my brain. My gut tells me the right way to go. But I would, you know, and also just don't be afraid. Just, you know, if you're doing it for the right reason, you're doing it because you love what you're doing, scrimp and save, because, you know, I worked in it before. When he met me, I'd got my own shop, but before that I worked for 10 years managing a shop, and making my jewelry in the evenings, and trying to sell it wherever I could, and doing sale or return if people would take that, selling it at craft fairs, selling it everywhere. You know, I didn't have the money or the backup or the support to kind of help me get started. But I would say that every hour and every minute that I had to spend on my business, I would. And ultimately, it's a bit like you've said before, you know, my business is my third child, you know, like, and sometimes I spend a lot more time with it than my own kids.
Sometimes it's a little bit more enjoyable. I mean, we love our children, but, you know, it sometimes listens to us more than the other ones.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. But I mean, you know, I never expected to be doing what I loved so much. You know, my mum was a secretary for years. She didn't get the opportunity to do what she really loved. And I kind of grew up believing that you just had to, you know, a little bit more like, you know, you've got to work to live rather than live to work. And I'm so lucky that I'm able to live to work and do what I really love and really enjoy doing. And I think, yeah, just go for it is the
thing. And I'm Bob Bond. I want to ask this question before we start to wrap up, but I'm just starting out, literally setting up this week. So firstly, congratulations.
Woo!
Congratulations. Am I too late for Christmas if my website isn't up and running until October? Well, it would have been back in 13 years ago, but now it's a very different matter, isn't it, Alice?
Well, I guess it depends how you're going to market it as well. You know, get it out there. It's better to have it than not have it. And I guess put the products up on Instagram and on social, and promote it as much as you can. Are you on Not on the High Street as well?
Just on your website, Posh Totty. I'm looking. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong bloody thing. I'm acting like I'm an expert in this, Alice. We'll wait to hear back from Bob Bond whether they're on Not on the High Street. The other thing is to say, I
don't know what they make, what they're doing.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Let us know. But the other thing is, isn't it right? I would say for anyone panicking, you know, Alice and I remember putting out October catalogues at Not on the High Street. It is not the same anymore, you know. Thanks to Amazon, thanks to those people who have basically rewired our customers to think that we can get handmade goods in a nanosecond. You know, our Christmases now, really, would you agree, Alice? It's in that December is now more important than ever. You've got November. 100%. Sort of in last year, for me, it was slightly after Halloween now. You know, before it was the day after Halloween. This last year, I remember lots of chat about it was like a week after Halloween or 2 weeks after Halloween.
But also I think this year things are kind of, like I said before, things are a bit different. But I do think that the sooner you prep for Christmas, the better.
Oh, yeah.
So just, you know.
Oh, I'm not talking prepping. I'm like, you're biting your nails to the nth degree and you're thinking that sales aren't coming. You know, don't worry. But maybe
nothing really happens until, you know, from the last few years, nothing really happens until Black Friday. And then it all goes crazy after that is what I was actually spent last week looking at all the calendars, laid them all out to see what orders, quantities we were getting through each day. And it was definitely that it suddenly took off at that point. You know, it's like the golden 30 days of craziness, you know, and then you're back to January.
And then you're back to January. But, you know, I also know, and I know from Not on the High Street, you know, the amount of searches for Christmas is crazily high at this period of time. And I've also heard a number of places say the same thing. You know, it's almost as if either people are writing off this year and going, I'm just getting my Christmas shopping done, or they're actually have the time finally in their lives to not have a mad Christmas. You know, maybe they're saying, you know, I don't want to be in November trying to buy for everybody. I'm going to start early.
Well, did you see John Lewis had it advertised its baubles like a month ago? I was like, what's going on? It's crazy in September. That's weird. I can't cope with that. But you know, I think people are just starting to plan as quickly as possible. If they're at home, you know, or if they're doing half days or if they're doing less days, you know, I guess they're starting to plan. And I guess now the kids are going back. My worry is now the kids have gone back to school, we might see a little slowdown, whereas people were actually around, sitting at home, and probably not doing that many activities like they would with the summer holidays normally, because it had been 6 months. They were just like,
yes,
plug in, kids. It's like, just,
which device have they not watched today? Let me see.
yeah, exactly.
I've got a couple more. I'm not going to be able to ever leave, nor are you. I've got a couple more comments. Mrs. Marvelous, wouldn't it be wonderful if we all bought for the love of something which we will treasure for years, rather than buying trends that are only shorter? I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's almost 100%. Why Not on High Street was created. It's why we, you know, Not on High Street curates, because actually everything on that site should slightly be for the long term. You know, it's we used to call it, you know, it's a modern heirlooms, isn't it? It's,
well, absolutely.
You know, your necklace that I still have with Frank, Harry and Holly, or my family necklace, my bracelet, these are things that will be given to Harry, whether he likes it or not. He's getting them, you know. Baby toddler adventure, just on your website, Posh Totty. Your stuff is beautiful. Well done.
See, that's the thing, is it still gets me emotional. Like I was, you know, when you walk down the street and you see someone wear the neck, you know, one of the Russians or the family names necklace, I still get a bit like, you know, just, you know, it's amazing. You know, when they say people do a little dance, it's true.
Yeah, it's true. And depending on how much wine you've had, you might even go up to the person and let them know the whole story of how I was once in Toys R Us and to get a kid's birthday present years ago, and I was with my husband and I was looking like no makeup, looking really, really bad. And there was this woman that walked past in the necklace, and my husband was like, go and say you made it. And I looked to myself and I was like, no way. That would totally ruin the illusion. This would not be good for the brand. Yeah. This is not a brand defining moment for us. We heard back from Bob Bond. I'm Bob Bond, who started their business this week. It's a poetry book subscription, a book of poems and creative writing prompts to inspire you to write yourself, to help with mindfulness and positive mental health. Well,
that's lovely.
Isn't that gorgeous, actually? So, Bob Bond, you know, I'm Bob Bond
as well.
Pardon?
And personalised ones as well. So, yep, you know.
Yeah. You know that word. You heard it here first. I'm Bob Bond. You need to put a name on something. I am so thrilled to be chatting to you today. And, you know, it really is, from the moments of pouring Diet Coke down your throat, watching, you know, your amazing inventions, and, you know, it has just been a phenomenal journey. And I'm so privileged that I get to still have these relationships. You know, it's very, very special to me, Alice. And, you know, it's forevermore you know, for all my life, I'll remember when we met and the journey that we're going on, and how far you've come in.
It wouldn't have happened, you know, and honestly, it's totally transformed my life. So, you know, thank you so much, Holly, because you've completely transformed my life. And, yeah, and you've always been my cheerleader, so I really appreciate that.
And I always will be, and to everyone watching, do you know what I mean? Like, we're in it together. And you heard it here first. It's going to be the biggest small Christmas ever, and I'm wishing you everything. Now I'm going to let you go now, because I'm going to say all lovely things about you and let
Brilliant.
you blush.
Oh, thank you very much.
Bye, darling, bye. What am I taking out of that? Well, be in. This is a new business phrase. If you haven't heard it before, if you look in the Oxford Dictionary of Business Phrases, in is right in there. Keep the founder umbilical cord not too long. Make sure that you're near enough your business that you can feel its vibration, that you can feel what's going on in the company. And if you need to step in, it's not like stepping into a land of the unknown. Cash is queen. The devil is in the detail, and conserve your cash. We were just talking, and Alice made such a good point there. You know, through her journey with Not on the High Street, things were going fantastically well, but she always made sure that there was that pot of money in her bank account, that she didn't overextend herself, because us small businesses do not know what's going to happen the following year. This year being the biggest prime example, you know, ever. And it's going to be the biggest small Christmas ever. And it could be the best Christmas for small businesses. And if that is the case, how are you preparing? You know, if you haven't applied for Not on the High Street, why don't you? What's there to lose? If you have not yet sorted your product range, sorted your photography, understood how you're going to market yourself, this is the time to prep. You've got time, as Alice said, even though searches are going through the roof for Christmas, you know, ultimately, I don't think all trends will change in buying patterns, and you've got some time. We're talking Black Friday, or we're talking just after Halloween. You know, we've still got some time. The kids are back at school. Some normality is springing up in place in your home, and I really would love you to take advantage of it. We don't know what 2021 is going to bring, so batten down the hatches. This is the time to get ready for Christmas. I'm going to be here the whole way through. You're not alone. I can't tell you how much I've loved speaking to Alice. I actually feel quite emotional and seeing so many people supporting this Instagram live. I've been gone for a month, and just like that, you're all back there supporting me. Alice is there telling the tales, and you know, when you have someone that you can tell the war stories with, it's such an important thing. And I just want to say thank you to Alice. Thank you to Not on the High Street for backing today. And I hope that we're going to have the most unbelievable end of this year. I think we all deserve it, don't we? So thank you very, very much. And I send all my love to you all.